Đi theo. Hướng dẫn chương trình.
Well, he wasn't a churchgoer, he wasn't Catholic. What he's doing, he's building a showcase for his mostly Spanish and Italian. Watch the card behind you. Spanish and Italian Renaissance and Gothic art collection. And to do that, he's putting together a theme. He's recreating, at least symbolically, a Mediterranean village you might find on the hillside in Spain. And the biggest, most dominant builders in those towns is you.
Chưa xong chết, ổng chết rồi.
Thank you.
Screen door, we'll leave that up closed.
You told me to close it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. No problem.
Oh, you wanted me to close the door?
Yeah. That's fine. It's our job, really, anyway. Thank you.
Yeah, come on in, sir. There we go. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. 'Cause- Thank you. So we got everybody right, and you got that 400-year-old Spanish door at the bottom.
Yep.
Very good. So this is the South Doge's suite bedroom, and this room was finished when Hearst changed his mind and did a do-over. Example of changefulness of mind. What he did, he switched out the location of the fireplace. Excuse me, with the window. So where the window is where the fireplace used to be, and where the fireplace is where the window used to be. And why did he do that? Well, when he added that north wing, I point out the bottom of the stairs, they built in a fairly substantial light shaft on the other side of the window that used to be here that went all the way up to the roof, designed to bring light in. But when it was done, Hearst didn't like the amount of light coming in, and he regretted taking away the view. He said the hilltop was all about the view. And that's why he went to the time and expense to do that switch with the window and the fireplace. The room itself is done in the Baroque style. The ceiling, for example, is an 18th century Italian Baroque ceiling, or at least most of it is. The ceiling didn't fit the dimensions of the room, so Hearst of Casa Grande, the big house, but these are 2.5-inch veneers of Utah limestone. They attach to steel reinforced concrete construction. And if you turn around, look over to your left, this is the new wing or north wing. So just remember how the pool got bigger all the time? The main house got bigger all the time. The north wing, part of the original plan, they never got around to attaching the exterior veneers. You can still see the wood forming marks up behind when they put the concrete. And up in the middle section, there's siding sticking out. They were supposed to support a balcony, which was never completed. So, and then sometimes when Hearst added something new to the old, he didn't like it. So the room that we're in, we can talk about why it's called the Doge's Suite, because there's a couple of nods to Venice, Italy. Any of you have been to Venice? or maybe the Venetian Casino in Las Vegas. That works because the casino picked up on a couple of design cues as well. For example, if you look out the window, you see an architectural element called the catafoil. See that four-leaf clover supported by the columns there? You find that on the Doge Palace in St. Mark's Square in Venice, Italy. And the Doge were elected rulers of the city-state of Venice when it was its own republic. Another nod to Venice is the winged lion, symbol of St. Mark's. You see the card above the window there. There's another one above the doorway. You find them on a column in St. Mark's Square in Venice, and also from the Venetian Casino in Las Vegas. The silk wall coverings, first and 17th century Venetian silk wall coverings, but the state was concerned about their longevity, so they took them down to an archive of storage and replicas made in the mid-60s, but this was totally never guess that they're not original. Wants to have another nod to Venice. He writes a memo to his architect saying he'd like to have pigeons in the courtyard down below, but as far as we know, nobody. Everybody inside that. The guided portion of the tour, we still have a lot more to see before we get there, is what Hearst had done with the light shaft right on the other side. Didn't let that space go to waste. We'll see it towards the end of the tour. Here too, we have the other panel of the sacristy door leading into the bathroom. The rest of the antique Italian ceiling. And the columns in here also molded.
Phúc vỡ cách chia xong rồi đúng không? Đây.
Mấy cái đó là chưa hoàn thiện.
À.
Chưa hoàn thiện đúng không? Từ mình thô rồi. Cảnh này đẹp ra biển này
Quá đẹp à. Cái cảnh này đứng này quá đẹp ha.
So it's all about the view, right? The marine layer burned off a bit, and you see San Simeon down there in the harbor. That's one of the reasons that William's dad, George, bought the acreage here in the 1860s with the money he made in the silver mines in Nevada. You want to make a commercial enterprise out of the harbor. There used to be a whaling station till the mid-19th century. He built a pier and some warehouses. The idea was so that farmers could ship their goods out and bring in supplies. And then when he dies in 1891, land and fortune goes to his wife Phoebe. And Phoebe's a good steward of the fortune. And when she passes away, that's when her son William inherits the land and the fortune in 1919. But by that time, he's well on his way to build up that media empire I talked about at the beginning of the tour. And he's able to do that because mom is providing the finance still weren't finished. So the area of the house that we're in now is known as the cloister bedroom area. And it gets its name because, like in a medieval cloister, there's rooms on one side and what used to be an open colonnade on the other. And I say used to be open, well, two things happened. One, Hearst was here in a particularly wet winter.
Remember, he said there was you checked that. Took out the sun. In the library, this was
So just, we're in the library lobby, just a few minutes on Hearst and technology. The whole building is still reinforced concrete. Morgan, the architect, hired a structural engineer, was at the forefront of earthquake-resistant technology at the time. Hearst wired the whole building from the get-go. He had his own hydroelectric plant initially with a backup gas generator, hooked up to the public utility system when it came out in the mid-20s. Communication is also very important for somebody who's building up a media empire. He ran telephone lines down to Cambridge as soon as they came up to the nearest town. And initially, though, he had a shortwave radio. And besides, so there's about 4,000 books in here. And they're the kind of books that Hearst guests would stock library. There's things like dictionaries, encyclopedias in here, reference works in various art history topics. There's literature from classics like Homer's Iliad, Shakespeare, Charles Dickens, and even some art auction catalogs where Hearst stored some of his art. But in addition to books, he used the room to showcase his collection of ancient Greek vases. And at one time, he had the world's largest private collection. There's about 150 left, and they're mostly lined up here. The oldest one we have in the room, 2,700 years old, is the one in the back corner, reaching almost to the ceiling there. That's always brand new. And sometimes Hearst would come down here and talk to his guests. And a good way to break the ice would be to ask him about his art. He's a newspaper man. He loves stories. He loves the stories behind his art, whether it's the provenance, where it came from, or what's the thing, you know. And he could probably tell you all about the god Apollo that's on this 2,500-year-old vase that the glass clicks in. But he didn't have it in that.
Dạ, có những công trình để đời, có những người có tư tưởng lạ lùng. Những công trình để đời lạ nhiều.
They'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. They got all summer.
Toilet của Dung mà. Closet của Du.
So this is the bedroom that Hearst used when he was visiting the hilltop between 1927 and the outbreak of World War II. In the period between 1922 and 27, this was under construction, Casa Grande, and he was using the largest guest house. You just see the tile roof through the window there. And then in the period from 1940, but maybe not the oldest ceiling on the hilltop. This is a ceiling from the town of Teruel in the Aragon region of Spain, and it dates from the 14th century, so there's a good chance about something before. But it was heavily altered so it would fit the dimensions of the room. And also near and dear to Hearst's heart were his parents. And we have two photographs of Dad George. He's the one who got the family fortune going. Remember the silver mines in Nevada. Marries his wife Phoebe. Talk about Marion. Let's talk about his wife Millicent. Marion wasn't his wife. Millicent was. Hearst married Millicent Veronica Wilson in 1903. They had 5 sons together. But somewhere around 1917 or so, he got himself a girlfriend. The chorus girl at the time, later Hollywood actress by the name of Marion Davies. And after a while, the affair became very public. And in 1927, Hearst and his wife divorced, but they never, they separated. They never divorced. Separated. So before the separation, wife Millicent was still coming up. They were using guest houses. Casa Grande was under construction, coming up with the boys. But when this is done, but by 1937, the meetings he's holding in here aren't about expanding his media empire. He's trying to save it. Because what's happening is basically depression caught up with Hearst and his company. Newspapers aren't selling that well. What we're critical for him is the fact that businesses aren't placing advertisements in his publications because there isn't any purchasing power. People aren't buying anything. And Hearst is deeply in debt. He built up a significant debt load through his acquisitions, media acquisitions, but also he's spending extensively. Not only on this estate and the art here, but also as the estate in Northern California Wind 2, which presented a very type of architectural style that his German art collection there. He has an estate that he shares with his girlfriend down in Santa Monica, the beach house. He has an estate, or he has an apartment complex in downtown Manhattan. And he has another estate, Sands Point, Long Island, in New York as well. He has a 1 million acre ranch in Mexico. And what he calls his...
Không xây mấy sao không ở hết được. Đi mà có đi thì mà.
Bit of a slope. Bit of a slope there. So we're on the 4th floor, and we're in the sitting room between 2 tower bedrooms. They're mirror images of each other, and we'll see the north tower bedroom in a minute. And in Hearst time, guess what he used this sitting room? Not with this furniture though, the state added this, fearing that folks might be tired after climbing all those stairs. Need a few seconds of rest, right? And then in the cold day, Hearst guests probably had the 700-year-old French mantelpiece. There's a Latin inscription. The gist of it is this house on earth shines like the moon in the sky. Hearst hangs a painting, a French painting he bought in the 19th century, years before he ever started building up here, in the Salon in Paris, featuring the work of Olivier Meursault, French Beaux-Arts painter. The theme here is the Holy Family's flight into Egypt. You see a tuckered out Maria there in the legs of the Sphinx. Joseph getting rest next to a dying campfire. And on the horizon, you see the pyramids, framed by the setting twilight from the setting sun. And then also related to Egyptian history, 1800 years later, Napoleon's campaigns in Egypt. 2 paintings, again, by a French painter, Jean Gérôme, a noted French painter and sculptor. And over here where I'm pointing to the painting, you see Napoleon on his horse, contemplating in front of the Sphinx. His officers giving a little bit of breathing room. You can see the shadows of their headdresses cast on the sand. And in the background, in the valley, you see the French army lined up. The companion piece on the other hand, I'll let you decide if you agree with that description.
Sợ. Đêm nhiều khi có người đến khêu.
So what do you think of that description? The woman that said that, her name Anna Harper, I don't know if any of you is here, has to do with changeableness of mind. The area that we're in now was at one time the highest part of the tower. There was a single bell hanging above our heads. But when those towers were finished, Hearst didn't like him. He didn't like the height, thought they were too short, didn't like the fact there was room for only one bell. He wanted to have multiple bells. So we're on the north side of the cloister bedrooms. Remember on the south side, both the Hearst and State closed it off at the time. This is protected from the weather, so it was never closed off. No, the wooden one there, yeah. Yeah, that one. There you go. Thank you. So we're in one of the 4 cloister bedrooms. Remember, those were the ones that had the center wall knocked out to make it bigger. And the other ones have very simple names. They're called cloisters 1, 2, and 3. This one is not number 4. It's called the Della Robbia room. And it gets its name from a generation of artists that lived in Italy in the 15th and 16th century, the Della Robbias. And among other things, they were known for their work in a tin-glazed earthenware called maiolica, which is one of the Europeans' answers to Chinese porcelain at the time. And the 5 pieces by the Della Robbias are 2 angels that would have carved in China out of quartz in the 19th century, electrified somewhere along the way, made into lamps, and Hearst bought them that way. So another uneven threshold. Please watch your step as we continue on. It's called duplex because, like some of you noticed, there's a loft up above with the bedroom, sitting room, bathroom down here. It's called lower because up above us on the next floor is another bedroom with the exact same floor plan, completely different furnishings and ceilings. On the north side, there's another 2 duplexes, so 4 total. And remember I said I'd show you what Hearst did with the light shaft he no longer needed? Well, this is it. So just to review, somewhere, at one point there was a window along this wall here that gave the Doji Suite bedroom on the other side an ocean view to the south. Hearst adds this massive south wing, builds a light shaft all the way to the roof, doesn't like the amount of light that's coming in here for the window, does the fireplace window switch on the other side, if you remember that story, and tells Morgan he wants bedrooms in the obsolete light shaft. And it was a bit of a design challenge because it wasn't big enough for that bedroom sitting room bedroom combination we've seen up until now. And that's when you could say she turned the concept on its head to utilize the existing space of the shaft. So this area completely repurposed from its functional intent, but unless we told you, you'd never ever guess it was one more example of changeableness of mind. And the ceiling that you're looking at up there, those paintings, they're by a Frenchman by the name of Lier from the 17th century. And this shows the god Neptune above it.